Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is Bandory Tyrell and I'm going to be doing a video for you today on our new product. Well, it's an update to an existing product. It's version 6 of our PBR and Blinn Phong material texture changer. So we have this product. I think actually we call it PBR material texture changer system or something like that. It's a product that I put out a few months back. When PBR first came out, I had a big problem. That problem was I make furniture and I texture that furniture and I use multiple textures and I use a texture changer so that my customers, when they buy the furniture, they don't just get one style. They can style it. They can change the, like for example, you can see this bed here, right? So they can change the textures of the metal, the wood, the blankets, the pillows and pillowcases and all that. So they do it from a menu. And I was using another vendor's product for that called Black Tulip and was very happy with it. But then when PBR came out, it didn't support PBR, of course. And so I couldn't do my texture changers. So I had to come up with a solution and nobody had one. I went on Marketplace. I looked around. Nobody had one. So I had to create my own. And I did. And it's gone through, I don't know how many iterations. So like on version 1, it was like version 1.1, 1.2, all the way up to like 1.18 or something. And now, yesterday, I released version 6.0. And at this point, I feel pretty comfortable that it's feature complete and it's a professional product that people can use. So I have 2 versions of it available. There's a personal edition that's free, and it's copy but no transfer. So you cannot put it in products. You cannot send it to other people. You can use it for your own purposes. You can also use it to learn with. And so I created it from scratch. And then the more I used it, the more features I added. And then I decided, maybe some other people would like to use this too. So I put it out. And I've been adding features to it ever since. So I believe it is the most complete material texture changer system in Second Life. Now, it's primarily for people who do things like furniture, where you want to use AV Sitter or something that's menu driven, and then it puts the textures in a menu. Or for someone who needs a lot of control or a lot of flexibility, because this system gives you all of that. So we recently added the ability to encode the UUIDs for your material textures and your material and your texture IDs, your keys. That was a concern somebody raised, that there's a concern that people might be able to steal the textures that you use. But with this system, it's very unlikely that that could happen. There's ways to control it already, because you don't have to ship it with your note cards in the product. With my material texture changer, it uses LSD, persistent memory. That's link set data. It's a kind of memory database that's in the object. And once you load things into that memory, it's persistent. It stays there. You can reboot. You can reboot. You can log out. You can log back in. You can reset the sim. You can reset scripts, and it doesn't clear the memory. You have to write a piece of code that says go in here and clear this memory for it to be gone. So all of the data gets stored in the link set data memory, and so because of that, you don't need the note cards after you've loaded them. Now you can keep the note cards in there if you want to, and there's some advantages, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why you might want to do that. But then people were saying, well, if I leave the note cards in there, then there's the possibility, even if I make them no mod, that people could read the note cards, see my UUIDs for my textures, and then somehow access those textures. Or if they're copy botting it, this helps them get all my textures. So I added an option to turn on UUID encoding. And if you turn that on, then it actually, when it dumps the data out, it will actually encode the data for the UUIDs, and then it actually is backwards compatible. So the run script, the main script that actually is the one that does your menus and lets you choose your textures, it is smart enough to know whether or not the UUIDs are encoded. And so if they are, it uses them that way. If they're not, it uses them that way. So you can turn on UUI encoding and you can still use all the note cards that you may have already created before you started encoding. But any new ones that you dump would get encoded. Anyway, that's a new feature. It's called UUID encoding. Again, it has LSD persistent memory for the storage, which means you can get rid of the note cards and you only need one script running, one script in it to run everything. You get hierarchical mixed menus. Well, what I mean by that is you can have nested menus. So you can have like a category and then a subcategory, 5 levels deep, and then you have your the texture set option, which is the thing that they pick that causes it to change. We call that the texture set. So you can put texture sets at any level. You can put them at the top level. You can put them in a submenu. They can reside anywhere. That's what I mean by mixed menus. So it's really up to you how you want to present this to your customers in the menuing. So everything is menu driven. It's configurable, so you can actually set a whole bunch of different options on it, and that's done through the menus as well. So you don't have to have a configuration note card. You just go to the menu. There's an admin menu. You go in there and you can change things. You can also auto-generate the diffuse textures for Blinn Phong. Say you don't want to make both. You just want to make the PBR material. When you put a PBR material on the object, if you also put a copy of the base color texture image on the object, you have to do both. You have to put the material and the base color image. If you do that, there's a configuration option to auto generate, and when you do that, it will use that base color image as the diffuse Blinn Phong material texture. So that way you can just use one and automatically get both. But it doesn't look as good. It's kind of flat. There's no ambient occlusion built into it, so it's a little flat. I don't particularly care for that, but some people don't mind. So I created that option. But let's say you want to do both. You want to have your Blinn Phong materials for people who don't have a viewer capable of doing PBR. So you can create those. You can create the PBR materials. You can apply both the Blinn Phong and the PBR to your object and make it look the way you want. And then with one click, boom, you dump the data out. You stick it in a note card. The note card gets loaded into the LSD memory. And from that point on, you no longer need the note card. And then you can use it. So we're going to go through that. I'm going to show you how to do everything. The next one is all PBR and GLTF fields. So we expose all of the fields that have anything to do with PBR materials, which is the material ID. That's the main one for the PBR material. And then all of the GLTF parameters that Second Life has added to the object for things like the base color image and all of the parameters that go with the base color, the occlusion, roughness, metallic map, and all of the parameters that go with that, the emissive map and all of the parameters that go with that, and the normal map and all of the parameters that go with that. In addition, we also expose all of the Blinn Phong parameters as well, which is the diffuse and all of the things associated with it, the normal and all of the things associated with that, and the specular and all of the things associated with that. So you get complete and absolute control over every aspect of PBR and every aspect of Blinn Phong, all in one thing. Now, that may be overkill. You might not need all that. It's 46 parameters. That's a lot of data for each texture. There's 46 different parameters. You might not need all that. So we actually let you configure it in different operational modes. So there's like a basic mode, which basically it's just the PBR material. Then we have the PBR material plus the base color options. That allows you to do things like rotate the texture, scale the texture. You could also control your transparency, things like that. So you could have parts that are transparent, parts that aren't. And then we have another option for all of the PBR parameters, but none of the Blinn Phong. And then we have kind of the everything option. So you get like 4 different options that you can choose from very basic, very minimal PBR only, all the way to everything. And you can also even use this as a Blinn Phong texture changer if you don't want to do any PBR. And the way you do that is you just don't apply a PBR material. If there's no PBR materials, all of that information is just basically null. And you use the texture changer, but you're only using the Blinn Phong port. So you can use this for PBR only. You can use it for Blinn Phong only. You can use it for both. And you can use it to just do the PBR, but have it automatically generate the Blinn Phong. So you have all of those different ways that you can use this, which opens up a lot of really cool things that you can do very quickly and very easily to make some really neat stuff. So for example, just to give you a quick idea, you could have one material, say a white PBR material that has your AO data, your roughness, your metallic, all of those things are there, but there's no base color. It's just white. You put that material on the object. That goes into the material ID slot. Now you can take any 2D texture that you want, like a cloth texture or a leather texture or a wood texture, a metal texture, any one that you want, and just stick it in the base color image. And now you've textured it, and it will combine that flat 2D texture with the ambient occlusion and all of the other maps to give you a good looking product. And then if you use the auto diffuse option, it'll take that base color image and use it as the Blinn Fong's diffuse texture. So it gives you incredible amount of flexibility to generate massive numbers of texture options really, really quickly. And it's a little cumbersome at first until you learn how to use it, because there's 46 parameters, and that can be very confusing. So we're going to go through every bit of that. Let's see what else is on the list over there. So it says also all Blinn Phong fields. I got that. Okay, you can use it in either 2 modes. We say it's called works via in the admin menu. So you can set it up so that it works via touch, which means when somebody clicks on it, like I could put the scripts in the pillow, and if somebody clicks the pillow, they get the menus. Or I can set it up so that it only works through AV Sitter. So if somebody sits on the furniture, goes to the AV Sitter menu, and you have a texture option in your AV Sitter menu, and that gives them the texture changer menus. Or the third option is both. And if you select both, then they can do both. They can click on it to activate it, or they can activate it while they're seated and using the menu. So I usually use both unless there's some reason why I can't click on it. So then I have the ability to do all 3 different options. And then the last thing on there is the basic to advanced, which I already talked about. So you have 4 different modes, from very, very simple to pretty big with 46 different parameters that you have to deal with. But the process is the same every time. So once you've done it, you learn the process. It's really simple. And so it's all in one. You get PBR only, Blinn Phong only, or both PBR and Blinn Phong all in one system. And the user just goes to one menu, and they click on one thing, and they change the textures. All right, so let's move into what we're going to do. So I have a model that I created. This is the model, and this is Substance Painter. And so I have this texture set that I've created, and all I do from here in Substance Painter is I need to get these materials out of here and into Second Life, right? So I export this, and you have to export twice, but that's all you do. So you select the parts that I want. So I want my blanket, my box springs, which is that part down there. I have them all separate on mine. You don't have to. You could have one for everything if you want. It's up to you. How you do your models, how you do your materials. I choose to split them up. So I have the blanket, which is this part. I have the box springs, which is this part down here. I have the frame, which is the metal frame. I have the headboard and footboard, which together is one object, which is the headboard part, the wooden part, and the wooden part of the footboard. I have a mattress, which is the top part here, the top mattress. Pillow 1 is the one on the left. Pillow 2 is the one on the right. And then I have a shadow material for down here, which I don't use anymore because I only use it once, and then I take it in Photoshop and I make it transparent and I stick it on there and I never touch it again. So you don't need to worry about that. But so those are all the different materials that I'm going to export. And then you choose an output template, and the one for PBR that works the best is GLTF PBR metallic roughness. And if you can't find it, it's not down here in the regular set. It's way at the top above the dotted line. So you pick GLTF PBR metallic or metal roughness. You pick that one, and then just hit export. Then it does its thinking and its processing and its calculating, and then it's going to spit out all of the material textures that I need for PBR. It does two things. It's going to give me all of the individual images, like the base color image, the ORM image, the emissive image, if we have any. I'm not using any emissive on this, so I don't have it, and the the normal image. It also gives me a GLB object, which is it's kind of like a zip file, which Second Life calls a material. So in Second Life, when you upload a material, you're actually uploading this GLB file, which contains all of these parts and the data and the parameters around them. So it's easy to import. Okay, so that's GLTF. Then I just do it again, and this time I select a different output, and I actually have created my own output template for Second Life, which is right here. And it produces the diffuse, the normal, and the specular for Blinn Phong. It also does an AO, which I don't need, so I'm going to turn the AO off. Actually, I'm not going to turn it off, but you can turn it off if you want to. I don't care. I just ignore it. So here we go. And then you hit export. And again, it's going to do all the processing to create these images, and it's going to spit out all the images and stick them into my export folder. So now I have all of the materials that I need for both Blinn Phong and PBR, and they look like this. So that I don't have two different versions. I have one version. I just export it twice. Okay, now let's jump over to Second Life, and here we are. This is the bed. I already have it with one set of textures on it, but we're going to upload those textures. So to upload them, we're going to go to Build, Upload, Bulk, and I'm going to do the Blinn Phong first. So I just select the diffuse, normal, specular for each part. Diffuse, normal, specular. Just keep doing that until you get all of them. So yeah, it did generate the AOs for all those, but I don't really need them. I could use them if I want to, but I don't need to. Okay, that's all of them. So you hit open, and then it's going to say, hey, it doesn't cost anything to upload these because I'm a Prime Plus member. All right, and I'm uploading, these are 2048 textures. You could scale them down, but I don't want to. I like them at 2048, so hit upload. Now it's going to go through and upload all of those, which takes a few minutes, so I'm going to pause the video while they upload, and I'll come right back. Okay, so that finished uploading all of the Blinn Phong materials. Now we're going to upload the PBR materials, and there's two ways you can do that. You can upload the individual images, and then you can create your own materials, or you can just upload the GLB file. And the way to do that is you go Build, Upload, Material, and then when I exported, it created two files. It created, and Windows doesn't seem to really understand what these files are, so it just basically says they're 3D objects. And it says, see, it says 3D object there. It doesn't tell you which one's which. But this one has almost no data in it, and this one is big. That's the one that has everything in it. So you take, it's usually the one on top. So you take the one that has all the data in it, and you upload that. Then it's going to give you a pop-up. If you have more than one material in here, and this is a confusing terminology, right? If you have more than one material in your material, right? That's why it's not really a material. It's a GLB file, which is like a zip file. So I'm trying to upload that GLB for this furniture, and it's telling me that it found in that a whole bunch of different materials. So I could upload them one by selecting them here, or I could say bulk upload. And so I'm going to do the bulk upload. And then it thinks about it. It says there's 7 different materials to upload, and each one of those 7 materials has 4 textures. And the cost is 0 because I'm Prime Plus. Okay, so hit upload, and it's going to start uploading all 28 of those different textures. And it takes a good amount of time. Seems to take longer. Well, it should take longer because there's 4 instead of 3. So, okay, here we go. Now it's starting to upload them. And you get 2 things. If you look in your textures folder, you will see all of the individual textures starting to appear. I call this bed the steel-sided. So it's the steel-sided bed, and this is for the blanket, and this is your base color image. And now it's uploading the normal image, and then it's going to upload the rest. And so they'll show up here. Also, once it's uploaded all of the textures for one of the material parts in your materials folder, you will get a new material. So I have steel side bed blanket. And now when it finishes uploading the next one, I get the box springs. And it's going to continue doing that until it gets all of the parts uploaded. Again, if you're only using one material for the whole thing, then you only have to do one. But I like to split mine up so I can have separated control. Anyway, I'm going to pause while this finishes uploading all these, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. It finished uploading everything, and you can see we have 7 different materials: blanket, box springs, frame, head and footboard, mattress, pillow 1, pillow 2. So that's all the PBR materials that I need for this texture set, which, remember, the texture set looks like that. That's what I'm calling the texture set. The texture set it's going to look like that. And it takes those 7 materials to get that. All right, so now I want to do a couple things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to install my scripts into this object. And so I need to pick a place where I want to do that. So I tend to like to put my texture changer scripts in a place where the customer can click, and a place where they're not going to click it for some other purpose, and they're not going to sit on it, because those things can interfere with each other. The scripts don't like it when you do that. They compete over things. And in some viewers, you can't have 2 menus pop up and when you click one thing, so you need to make sure you don't do that. Okay, so I could put it in the headboard. I could put it in the frame. I could put it in the box springs, because no one's going to sit on the box springs, right? But I like to put it in a place that's a little more obvious, so I usually tend to put it in my pillows. So I usually do the left pillow. And I have a kind of a standard that I use in my product, so everybody expects, oh, there's pillows, it's going to be there. It's going to be in the left pillow. If I have 1 pillow, it's in 1 pillow. If I have 3 pillows, it's the one on the left. So that it's just something that people get used to. So I want to put it in there. So for convenience sake, and convenience sake only, really, I don't want to have to, when I edit this and I move things around, that I constantly have to use edit linked, and then click on the part. So I want to make the part where I'm going to put my scripts the root prim. That way, when I don't need edit linked, because by default, when I edit the object, that part, that linked prim, becomes the thing that is selected. So to do that, you just need to change the order that these things are linked in and make that the last thing linked. The other thing is, I like to make sure that my textures work in a logical order, and that it's easy for me when I'm working on them if I group them together too. Because when it dumps the data link by link, prim by prim, and then on a specific prim, if you have multiple faces, it does it face by face. And so I want to try to group those together so that the things that are similar are together. So if I know I'm going to use, let's say I want to break this down so that how the customer is going to use it. How are they going to texture this thing? Well, I want to give them the ability to have a choice for texturing the whole thing, because a lot of people are lazy and they don't want to do a lot of work. So give them some choices where they can texture everything all at one time. I call that a theme. So this would be like the blue and cherry theme, if that's a cherry wood. So you can say blue and cherry, and that would be this, and people would know, okay, that means this. And it textures everything. But I also want to give them the flexibility of saying, okay, well, I want to use this wood with a different metal, or I want to use this wood with another wood here, and I want to have a different color blanket, and I want to have different color sheets. So I kind of look at it and go, okay, how can I break this down? What kind of categories can I put things in to make it easy for people to texture it? So theme is one. I also want to do the blanket by itself, or the comforter, whatever you want to call it, have a menu of choices for just the comforter. So maybe I like this headboard, I like this frame, I like these sheets, but I want to have a different color blanket. So I'm going to give them maybe 10 different blanket choices. And then when they go to the texture changer menu, they just pick blanket, and then they pick the blanket that they want. I also want to give them different color options and style options for the linens, the sheets, and pillowcases, right? So it depends on your style and how you do things. But in this bed, I want the pillowcases and the sheets to match. So I'm going to do them all at once. So I'm going to do the box springs, the mattress, pillow 1 and pillow 2 together in one note card, in one menu option. I'm going to do the blanket in a separate one. I'm going to do the metal part of the frame and the wood part of the frame separately. That way they can mix and match. That really gives them total flexibility to be able to mix and match the textures that they're going to use. Okay, so that means I need to have a menu option for theme, a menu option for comforter, a menu option for linens, a menu option for frame, and a menu option for headboard, footboard. And then so that's my menus, right? But then I want the output of the file. When I run the script and I output the data for the different textures, I want them to group together as well in that same logical grouping. So to do that, it's how you order the parts when you link them. So here's what you do. You unlink the whole thing. Just edit it and hit unlink. Boom. Now it's all separate parts, right? Each one's a separate part. So now you have to put them back together, and you put them back in together in the order you want the data to come out, where the first one you pick will be the first thing out, and the last thing you pick will be the last thing out. I think it's that way. Maybe the other way around, but at least it groups them together. The last one you select will become the root prim. So I start I think about it the furthest away from the root prim, and I work my way towards where the root prim is, and then I group things together so that they're logical. So the thing that's furthest away from everything is the shadow. Don't forget the shadow. So I edit it first. Then I hold the shift key down, and I select the frame. And if I had any other metal parts, I would select those now. Then I select the wood frame, the wood for the headboard. And if I had any other wooden parts, I'd select those now. Then I have the blanket, and then I'm going to do the box springs, the mattress, pillow 2, and I'm going to end with pillow 1. And then I hit link. Okay, so that changed all my links, and now when I edit it, you can see this is highlighted yellow, so it's the root prim. And so when I stick my note cards and I stick my scripts in, they're going to go in there, in that thing, and that's where people are going to click. Now, I don't have my pose engine on here yet for my AV sitter stuff. I put that in later. I put that in last, after I've done all my materials and I've done all my texturing, or most of it. Then I'll put the engine on, and the engine will become the new root prim. And that's all I do is it's in a box, and I just stick the box on here and I link the bed to that box. And then it becomes the new root prim, and it doesn't affect the texture changer at all. Right, but for now, that's where things are. And if you're wondering why is this white when I edit it, it's because I think this is a bug, I don't know. In Blinn Phong is this tab is selected, but if I select the PBR tab and then I edit it, you'll see now it shows the PBR textures in edit mode. Right, it's kind of weird. Even though there are Blinn Phong textures and materials applied to this, they don't show up because it's showing me PBR, but there aren't. I don't know. It's weird. That's not something with my problem. That's a problem with either Firestorm or Second Life. But anyway, if you don't like that, you can always just hit PBR, and then as long as you have PBR materials applied, you'll see them when you edit. Okay, so now I have my bed ready for that. I'm ready to drop the scripts in. So when you get the box from me, it's going to have 3 scripts and a note card, and the note card has detailed instructions. So all you're going to do is unpack that. It's going to create a folder, and it's going to stick everything in that folder. On mine, I actually have them in my scripts folder, but you would have them in the folder with the same name as the box that you get them in. All right, so I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to drag in my three scripts. There's three scripts: the data dump script, the LSD loader script, and the main script. Now, the data dump script is only used to dump out, well, it's used for two things. It's used to set the administration stuff. So do all your configuration, you use that script. That's where the admin menu is. It's also used to dump out the texture data, and it dumps it out to local chat. It actually dumps it out to the owner chat. And so if your owner chat is set up as local chat, it shows up in local chat. Or like if you're like me, I use Firestorm and I have my owner chat redirected to the debug window. So for me, it all prints out in the debug window because I don't like having my local chat cluttered up with stuff. So it's going to dump all that data out into a chat window. And that's all the data dump script does. It just dumps the data out. You can configure it and you can dump it. All right. The LSD loader script, it sits in the pillow, in this case. It sits there and it monitors to see if any changes have taken place. If you've made a change to a note card, or you've added a new note card, or you've deleted a note card. So once it sees a change, it runs again, and it will go and look for any note cards of the right kind. When it finds the material note cards, it will then load them into LSD memory. And it will tell you, it gives you messages and says, well, I'm loading this one, I'm loading that one, I'm loading this one, I'm done. Excuse me. Once it says it's done, you no longer need the LSD script and you no longer need the note cards. But during development, you're not just making one material, you're going to make a whole bunch. So leave them in there until you're absolutely done and you have all of your material note cards loaded in, you have everything ready to go. And then you can actually delete the LSD script and then delete your note cards. But do it in that order because, as I said, when there's a change, the LSD script will run. So if you start deleting your note cards and the LSD script is still in there, it will reset and it will erase the texture sets from memory one by one as you remove the files, right? So if you're going to remove them, make sure you remove the LSD script before you remove the note cards. Otherwise, you won't have anything in memory. But we'll talk about that again later. That's a note. So that's what the LSD loader script does. It's just constantly reading the note cards and sticking them in memory. And anytime there's a change, it rereads them and sticks it in the memory. And then you have the main script. And the main script is what you use to actually pick the menu option or to use the menus and pick your textures and to change the textures. That's the runtime script. That's the script that goes out with the customers. That's the script that they're going to use to change the textures. Now, I don't have to put that script in now. In fact, right now, the only script I need is the data dump script. So I could just put the data dump script in for now and then and deal with this later. So I throw them all in there and I deal with it because I know what I'm expecting. But if it's too confusing for you, you can do it separately. The other thing, I use Firestorm. If I put two scripts in a single prim that both have a touch trigger, I get two pop-up menus when I click it. In other viewers, I know Alchemy is this way. I'm not sure about Second Life Viewer. That doesn't happen. If you have two scripts in there and you click, you only get one pop-up. And so you cannot put these in the same prim if you are using Alchemy or some other viewer and get them to work right. So you need to kind of think about that. So you could, and it doesn't matter where you put these. They don't have to be in the root prim. I just put them in there because it's easier, so I don't have to keep hitting edit linked. These can go anywhere, and they don't have to be in the same. They don't have to be in the same prim. The only one that needs to be with the note cards is the main script. The rest of them, they don't care. So you could put the data dump. I could put the data dump in the frame. I could put the LSD loader in the headboard, and I could put the main script in the pillow. Just for convenience sakes, I'm going to put them all in there. And then it's just easier for me. And again, since I don't like having to hit edit linked every time to get to where I want them, that's why I made this root prim. So just edit this, go to content, drag the scripts in. Okay, that's ready. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to name our parts of our object. So even if you only have one prim, one object, you still need to give it a name for my texture changer. And that goes in the description field of the prim. Now, I have 7 I have 8 including the shadow, but I'm not going to texture the shadow, so I don't need to include it. You only need to give names to the parts that you want to change textures for. If I have a, like say if I was going to use this frame for everything and this headboard for everything, and I was only going to change the linens and the comforter, then I don't need to name the frame and I don't need to name the headboard because I'm not going to change them. If I only want to change the comforter, the only part I need to put a name on is the comforter. But in my case, I'm changing everything except for the shadow. So I'm not going to put a name on the shadow, but I am going to put a name on everything else. And the structure of that name has to start with the letter T, lowercase, and a semicolon. After the semicolon, you put a name on the part so that you can look at it and go, oh, I know what part that is. You don't want to call it like A7345 because you'll never remember what A7345 is. So make it human understandable. So let's just go through all the parts. So we have the headboard. I already did this. I called it T semicolon head and foot. Now you can't put special characters in here and you shouldn't really put spaces in here either. I don't know if that'll work. I think it might work, but I don't know. The safest thing to do is just put text and maybe numbers. In fact, I think in the instructions I say letters and numbers only. I haven't tested it. You might be able to do more than that, but I don't know. And then no spaces. So T semicolon head and foot. That's for this part. This part I call T semicolon frame. And you don't put it in the name, you put it in the description. So if you get confused and it's not working, check. You might have it in the name field instead of the description field. Now, some people say, okay, I use another script that sticks stuff into the description field. And so what do I do? Well, you can put parameters for other scripts in here after a hashtag. So you put a hashtag and then you put whatever other parameters you need, and we ignore that. Only problem is we have to come first. So I don't know if the other programs care, but for us, we have to come first because I look for the first character to be a T. So we have to come first. But you can put other parameters in there after a hashtag, and you can put as many as you want. It doesn't matter. Right? So that's the frame. And then this is going to be called T semicolon comforter. This is T semicolon box springs. And this is called T semicolon mattress. Now, why a T? I use a T because that's what Black Tulip used in their texture changer. And for a while, I was allowing, and you still can. You can use the Black Tulip texture changer for like your Blinn Phong, if you don't want to use mine, and use mine for PBR. You could do that today with this version. You just set it in the basic mode. You only use it for PBR, and you use your existing Black Tulip stuff. If you already have that done, just keep using it. But they use T semicolon. So if I use something else, it wouldn't work. So I use T semicolon to allow you to work with their scripts. So again, if you already have all of your Blinn Phong textures done and they're already set up and it's already using Black Tulip, you can continue using that. And you don't have to rename things. Okay? And then pillow 1 and pillow 2. So every part is named, and I don't name the shadow because I don't want it to show up. All right, so now it's ready to use. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to clear out all these textures so I don't want it to be confusing for you. So I should have done this beforehand. So just hit none on that, and then we'll go to Blinn Phong, and we'll hit blank on that. And let's go ahead and do it on that too. Oops, blank. Okay, so now there's no textures on this. It's completely blank. And we're going to texture it. Now I can do in any order I want. I can do the PBR materials first, or I can do the Blinn Phong first. I find, because it's hard to see, because you can't watch both of them at the same time. You can either, everybody's that way, whether you can see PBR or not. You can either see PBR or you can see Blinn Phong. If you have both on an object, you only see one of them. And so because I can see PBR, I can't see the Blinn Phong once the PBR has been added. So it's very difficult when you're texturing to make sure you have everything textured if you put the PBR on first. So I tend to put the Blinn Phong on first. Okay, so here's my and I'm not using separate faces, but it works the same way if you are using separate faces. You just have to select the face when you do this. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go down to textures. And I'm going to scroll down. These are the PBR textures. Here are my Blinn Phong ones down here. It starts at blanket and goes up to pillow 2. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick these on manually, right? And so I'm going to edit. I'm going to select face. I could do edit link, but select faces. I think it's a better habit to get in select face, because if you are using multiple faces on a single object, you have to do that. If you're using, like I am, I'm not using multiple faces, it doesn't hurt to do it this way. So might as well just learn to do it one way. All right, so select face, and then we're going to do the blanket first. So click the blanket and then drag these in. There's your diffuse. I think that's the wrong diffuse. Yeah, that's the wrong diffuse. This diffuse. Is that the right thing? What did I look like? I can't even remember. Yeah, okay, we're right. I had uploaded this earlier. So there's the right blanket diffuse, even though it's the same thing. Then the blanket normal and the blanket specular. And then we're going to go to the box springs, do the same thing. And then go to frame. And headboard and footboard, diffuse, normal. Oops, I put it in the wrong place. Diffuse, normal, specular. Then mattress, diffuse, normal, specular. Pillow 1, pillow 1 normal, pillow 1 specular, pillow 2, pillow 2 normal, and pillow 2 specular. Okay. So I have my Blinn Phong materials applied to the bed now. It also noticed that when you upload a mesh object and you start doing this, it puts a 0.8, an 80% grayscale image. So it's almost white, but it's not quite. To darken it up a little bit. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes I get rid of it. Sometimes I just leave it. I'm just going to leave it because I think it looks a little bit better. So we're just going to leave it that way. So there's my Blinn Phong. Oh, I also got rid of this. So I have to go find that. I did it before. It's called shadow.ao. Scream if you see it. I'm just going to search for it. There it is. All right. Okay, why didn't it open? Select face. I think that's the right shadow. Looks like it. That's weird. Why is it not going? Anyway, I don't know why that's not. It looks like a problem with Second Life right now. Someone else was telling me there's a problem with textures because this texture, that's not it. All right, I'm going to upload it again just to make sure. It's my export folder. I don't have it in there. That is the one. That's strange. It's like it's not loading all the way. And the transparency's off. Maybe that's because I don't have transparency turned on. There we go. Oh yeah, okay. Transparency wasn't on. So select face, go to that. And then alpha mode, blend. I got it. Boom. That's working. Somehow the blend mode got set to none. That's why it wasn't working. Okay, so I just put the shadow on there and set it to, oh, it looks like there's a specular on there. There is. No, there's not. There is. Okay, so put these on none. I think I screwed it up earlier. You can see there was a little bit of a shininess to it. That's why I recognize it. Yeah, okay, that's better. All right, so there I got my shadow back on there. So this all of this has nothing to do with my texture changer, by the way. This is just texturing an object. All right, so there we have my object set up with Blinn Phong, and now let's go ahead and put the material textures on there. And those are up here in material folder. And this is a little easier. You can just drag them on. So pillow 2 goes on pillow 2. Pillow 1 goes on pillow 1. You can see they don't look exactly the same. They look a little different. That's just because of the difference between Blinn Phong and PBR. And that's why we do both. Mattress, head and foot, frame, box springs, and blanket. And there we go. Okay, so now it's been textured. And we're ready to do my texture changer. All right, so the first thing you want to do with the texture changer is you want to set your options and configure it for how you want it to work. Let me close all these little windows. All right, so to do that, you click on the Prim where the script, the dump script is located. In this case, my dump script is located in this pillow, so I click it. Now you notice I get 2 menus. This is the main script. I should probably put some kind of message in there. This is the main script saying what you want to do. And this is the dump script, okay? So dump script gives you 2 options, dump data, which we're not going to do yet, and admin. So go ahead and click on admin. And now I want to tell it that I want it to work for both AV Sitter while you're sitting on the menu, and I want it to work for touch. So click works via and pick both. If you don't want both, then you can change it. So now you have to click it again to get the menu back. So go to admin. I want to set my mode, and I'm going to do both PBR and non-PBR. So these are the 4 modes. You have PBR only, PBR plus base color, all of the PBR, and all PBR plus non-PBR. So that's the mode we're going to go. And then the last thing I want to do is set my defaults. So go back to the admin menu, and I'm going to click on set defaults. By default, it is set to change the color to white and the roughness and metallic to 1. This is a bug in Second Life. They say it's not a bug, but everybody else says it's a bug. Whenever you apply a PBR material to an object, and then you query the PBR data, you can't query the PBR data because it's in the PBR material and it's not exposed to us. But what Second Life has is a set of overrides on the Prim for all of the PBR parameters, and they're called GLTF parameters. So all of the GLTF parameters are exposed, but they're not the parameters that are in the material. They're overrides, which allows you to change them. And by default, Second Life sets the overrides to null or 0 whenever you apply a material. So what happens then is I apply the material, I query the data, and it all comes out 0, and including color. So the tint that is applied, or the tint that is dumped out, is actually black. 0, 0, 0. 0 red, 0 green, 0 blue is black. It also sets the roughness to 0. Well, a roughness of 0 is maximum reflection, and I don't want maximum reflection. It sets everything to 0. And some of the stuff being set to 0 is okay. Like, for example, alpha mode 0 is opaque, and I want them to be opaque. But if I don't want them to be opaque, and I want some transparency, that's not going to work. So I have to change it. And so to save you the massive headache of having to go in and change every single line of every dump for multiple parameters so that it works, I set the defaults to work. Now, that's fine. But the problem is, if you then manually go in here and you say, let's go ahead, I'm going to edit this. And, I'm going to go in here and edit this, and I'm going to make changes. See, nothing is in here, right? It's only here. Now, if I go in here and I make changes to this, it sets the overrides. And so if I have made changes in here and I leave my stuff set as the default, it's going to not be what you manually set in here. So it can be very, very confusing. And this is where people get in a lot of confusion. So you might not want those defaults on later on. So you can turn them off. But it only affects the dump is really all it affects. It affects the other scripts too, but it's not important. It's affecting the dump because it changes the data that comes out in the dump. So anyway, the three fields that are getting that I set the defaults on are color, roughness, and metallic. I set all of those to 1. Now, I tend to not want things to be metallic that aren't metallic, so it's all or nothing. So everything either is going to be 0 or everything is going to be 1. So by default, I set metallic to 1. Well, the only thing on here that's metallic is the frame. So maybe I don't want metallic to be on, so I can turn it off. So we can go to set defaults. Oops, the menu timed out. All right. Got to click it again to get the menu back. And then go to set defaults. And then right now, color is already on, roughness is on, metallic is on, but I don't want metallic on, so I'm going to click it to turn it off. So that toggles it, and you can see it says the base color tint. Shouldn't say tint. That's a bug. I'm going to fix it. It should say metallic. All right, so that we just found a bug. So there's going to be a 6.1 coming out. All right, that's it. That's all I had to do. And you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I did that because I know it's going to happen. So anyway, the main thing is, now that I have everything set up with my admin, I don't need to do that. I can just click dump. So this is how hard it is. You click it and you do dump. And then you'll see this is my debug window up here. Nothing dumped. There it goes. I don't know why, maybe it timed out. I did it again and it worked. All right, so it comes out like this. It says begin material data dump, and then it prints out a whole bunch of data. There's one line of data for each part and each face that has a unique material on it. So if I have multiple faces and I put materials on those multiple faces, you're going to get one line for each one of those faces. And this is the data that it needs to be able to reproduce this texture set. And so we have to store this data in memory for it to be able to rebuild this textures. And so that's what we do. So you have one line for each of these. So we're just going to copy, and you don't copy this line, and you don't copy the one at the end. You copy everything in between. Just copy it. We're going to put it into a note card. So I'm going to do Control C. So it's copied. Oh, but I don't have a note card to put it in. So we got to have a note card to put it in. And then we're going to put a note card right here. So I'm going to go ahead and say new note card. And I'm going to paste it. I'm not going to save it yet, though. I'm just going to paste it in there. And this note card is now called new note. We have to change the name of this note card, and it's a very specific format for how you name your note cards. And this is the other area where people get confused. And it's all documented in the instructions. So we're going to rename this. It has to begin with PBR capital letters. PBR has to begin with that and a colon. Not a semicolon, a colon. You have to have PBR colon at the beginning of the name of the note card. And then we're going to have a bunch of fields in here that define the menu and the actual texture set name. But the first field is what we call the object name. And if you're familiar with Black Tulip, they don't have this. I added this because when I produce hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these note cards, and the note card is just named leather black, I don't know what that went to. And for me to figure out which piece of furniture that leather black note card went to is almost impossible. So I added an extra field in the name for what object this goes with. So it's only for our convenience as builders so that we can figure this out and remember it later. But it is mandatory. And so you come up with a name, and it doesn't have to be unique from anything else you've ever built, but it's helpful if it does. So I call this bed steel side bed, so I'm going to call this steel side bed. So now whenever I see this file, and it's laying around in my inventory, I go, oh, this is for the steel side bed. All right, and then a colon to separate the parameters. So you have PBR colon, and that has to be uppercase, PBR colon, steel side bed colon. Now I do the menus. And remember, we talked about that. So I want to have a theme menu, I want to have a linens menu, I want to have a comforter menu, and I want a frame menu, and I want a headboard, footboard menu. So first of all, let's do the one that has everything in it, and that's the theme. So we're going to call theme, and it, for menus, put a asterisk at the end of the name so that when it shows up in the dialog box down here, you'll know, the user will know anything that has an asterisk is a menu. It's not going to change the textures, it's going to give me a menu. That's just for helping the users. So put a asterisk after the name of a menu. Then a semicolon to go to the next parameter. And then it's just the name of the whatever this texture set is. And so we're going to call this, I'm going to call it multicolor. Multicolor. Okay, so I have a theme called multicolor, and it's for the steel side bed, and it's just the mandatory name there. Okay, and then this is my data. This is the data that came out of my dump. Now, just so you'll know, this parameter right here is the color, and you'll notice that it is 111, which is white. If you didn't have the default set, that would be black. The next ones are these two parameters right here. The first one is metallic, and because I turned off the default for metallic, it's set to 0. And this is roughness. And so roughness, a 1, means no reflection. So that's good for all of my cloth things like that. I don't want any reflection. I don't want any metallic. But let's think about the metal part. Well, the metal part, I want it to be metal, and that's going to be the frame. So let's change this one to a 1. And then do I want it to have some reflection? I don't want it to have maximum reflection like a mirror, but I might want a little bit of reflection. So if 1 is no reflection and 0 is maximum, how about a 0.8? That gives me a little bit of reflection. Same thing for my head and footboard. Well, I find that wood looks better if the metallic is actually set to 1. And a little bit of reflection on that too. So let's put a 0.8 on how much reflection I have. Now, if I want more, I can just change it right here. I can change these parameters and it will be stored, and that's what's going to get used. All right, so I made a couple changes here. The other thing is I have this time step at the beginning. In the early versions of this, you had to remove that. You don't have to remove it anymore. I ignore it now. I just skip over until I find T semicolon, so I ignore it. But from a human readable perspective, in my OCD, it's annoying. So you can just select that, hit Control F to bring up the Finder, and then just hit Search and then hit Replace All, and it's gone, and you don't ever need to worry about it. The other things to look at is if I had multiple parts that use the exact same material, I can name them the same, and then only need one line for all of them. So you put the same name on all the parts that use the same material, you're going to get one line for each one of them in here. Just delete the extra ones and keep one line. It doesn't matter which one, they're all identical anyway. So I don't have that case, but if I did, you could just delete them. Anyway, so I'm done with this. And I really only changed things because I wanted to change them. I didn't have to change them. We could have just done it and saved it. So save this. It's in my inventory. Now I can edit my bed, go to the contents, and because this is the root prim, I don't have to do edit link and pick it. It's already there. Just drag this in, and you will see the LSD script is going to run now. And there it goes. It says reading note card names and generating link set data. Finished reading note card 1. So it finished note card 1 and didn't have any errors, and it worked. And the note card data has been written to the link set. Loading PBR material note card is complete. PBR texture changer is now ready to use. If you are finished creating texture sets, you can save a backup of your note cards and delete them. The data dump in LSD scripts. I should probably change the wording on this to make sure you don't delete the LSD. Don't delete the note cards before you do the LSD. Anyway, but you can delete them at this point. Okay. So there you go. It's in there. Now I can run it and see. And if it turns all black, then you know something's wrong. So just click the pillow. Remember, you get two menus here. This is the dump. I'm not doing the dump menu. I'm doing this one. And there's my theme now. See, I have a theme menu because I have theme in the name of my note card. So I click that, and then here we go. I have one called multicolor. And I just click it, and it runs. and it changed it. Now it looks a little different than it did because I changed the setting on the metallic and the roughness a little bit than the way it was in there before. So it gave you you got a little bit of a change. So you can tweak those and play with them and get this to look. So maybe I want this to have a little bit of reflection in there. So I could just go in here and edit my note card. And let's turn metallic on the comforter and see what it looks like. Okay. Save it. The LSD script's going to run. It's going to read the information. It's going to stick it back into memory. And now I can click on it again. Go to the theme, multicolor, and boom. There. Now it looks, I think it looks about like it did before. So turning metallic on made the comforter look a little different. And so you can do things like that. So if I want to, maybe I want to put some color on here. How can I put color on here on this headboard? I want to make it pink, right? Just edit the note card. I don't need to turn that on. Just edit the note card. Find the line for the head and the footboard, and then go to the color, which is this one. And we're going to turn on, we're going to make it pink. So to make it pink, this is RGB, red, green, blue. Let's set green to 0, blue to 0. So that's going to be red, but I don't want it to be maximum red. Let's do about a 0.6 on the red. Oops, 0.6, 0.6. Okay, 0.6 on red, no green, no blue. And we're going to save it. This is the headboard, right? Yep. Loaded it, and now I can test it. Theme, multicolor. Boom. Well, that's a little too red, so right, you get the idea. You can play with this. Let's try a different amount of red. See what happens. But now you have total creative control and flexibility to be able to go in here and do what you want. So we're going to change that from 0.6 red. Where's that? There it is. Let's do 0.3 red. It loaded. Click it. Theme, multicolor. So it's still red. I don't know what I have to look up the color code for pink. There's probably a little bit of blue in there or something, which would make it a kind of purple. So you have to find out what the right RGB values are for the colors that you want. There's tables of that on the internet. But I don't want that to be red, so let's go back to white. So we just go back over here and change it back to white. 1, 1, 1, which is white. The other thing we could do is say I don't have any emissive in here, but if I wanted to put emissive, I could turn emissive on just by changing the parameters in here. If I want to change the base color texture that's applied to this, right now you can see this parameter is empty. That's why it looks like bracket, or pipe. There's nothing in there. That's where the base color image goes. And for now, the base color image is in the material, which is this field. This is the key for the material. But if I could put a base color here and override that and put some other kind of texture here. That's why I'm saying if you had a material that was just white, you could put some other kind of material here, and that would work. If I want to have a Blinn Phong color, so the Blinn Phong color is way over here somewhere. I don't know which one. It's one of these fields. And these, I spell these out meticulously in the instructions so you can tell what's what. Now, okay. That's if I want Blinn Phong and PBR at the same time. But let's say, let's get rid of the red on that one. Okay. Let's say I don't want Blinn Phong. I'm not going to do Blinn Phong. I'm only doing PBR. Okay. All you have to do is go here. Go to admin, set the mode to PBR only, then click it again, dump your data, and now you get a much smaller amount of data. Go to your note card, dump it in. And now I don't even get the base color parameters, so I can't change the roughness. I can't change the color, but I'm not using them, so it's not going to come out black. Now, the only other parameter I put in here on the end is alpha. That's because if you want to have something that's transparent, you just change the 0 to a 1, and that part will be set to alpha mode blend, and it will show up just like the shadow did. Otherwise, it'll be opaque. So I felt it was necessary to add that parameter, but most of the time you just leave it at 0, which is opaque. 1 would be blend. And then this is your key for your material. So that's really it. It's like, this is the pillow name, which is the part name. Then the face number, 0 is all sides. And then the material ID, and then a flag for whether it's opaque or transparent. We're going to save it. Right? Let's run that. Click it. Pick theme, multicolor. And now it looks exactly that way because I'm not manipulating any of the parameters. I didn't change the metallic. I didn't change the roughness. I didn't change anything. It's just the way it is in the material. I'm not overriding anything at all. So that's if you just want PBR by itself. What if I want Blinn Phong by itself and I don't want any I don't want any of the PBR, right? Does that have it in there? Yeah, okay. This is my old note card. It's got the same data in it, so I'm gonna replace that. So I'm gonna go back. I don't have a Blinn Phong only mode, so what you have to do is you have to pick the mode for PBR and non-PBR, and then replace that note card with the note card that I already did that in, which is this one. See how because the LSD script's constantly reloading anytime you make a change, I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to do anything. I just make changes. I drag a new file in, I edit the file, and my changes are automatically put into memory. All right, so this is the note card now. It's just like it was. It's got all that information in just like it was. Yep. Okay. So, and again, that'll work, right? If I go theme, multicolor, you should see a slight difference. Oh, this was a different, okay, I had different textures set, so it's not exactly the same texture, so ignore that. Anyway, so there it is, but this is, again, it's Blinn Phong and PBR, and you can tell because if I edit it and I go to textures and I look, there are PBR and there is Blinn Phong. Well, my thing was, what if I don't want PBR? I'm only doing Blinn Phong. Well, all you got to do is edit the object, go to texture, go to PBR, and turn them off. And now there's no PBR. And then dump again. Now just hit dump. Then copy. Go to your note card, edit your note card, paste it in. And now notice the material key for the PBR material is all zeros. You could have just done that. But the ones for Blinn Phong are all still here. So save it. Right? And now when I run it, it won't apply any PBR. So there's no PBR, it's just Blinn Phong. Right? So you have the ability to do PBR only, Blinn Phong only, both of them. And the other one is auto-generate the base color. So let me show you how to do that. So to auto-generate the base color, I haven't done this in a while, so I may be rusty. But all you have to do is let's go ahead and restore that. I'm going to put this back the way it was. Auto diffuse only works if there is a value in the base color image. So let's look at the comforter. So if I go to PBR, oh, I haven't run it yet. Gotta run this theme, multicolor, boom. Okay, now I have PBR materials. Yeah, PBR materials are there. Okay, so if I go look at the comforter, see how there is a base color image there? It will copy this image right here and put it in the Blinn Phong. So I don't have to do it. But what does that save me? It saves me from having to export it It saves me from having to upload all those Blinn Phong materials, and saves me from having to go in and manually put them in. I can just use this image instead, and it will automatically do that. And the way to set that up is you just go to the admin menu and you turn on auto diffuse, and that sets that up. Now I don't like using it. I think it's kind of cheating, and it doesn't look as good, so I'm not going to do that. But I don't look at Blinn Phong anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right, and the last option on here that I wanted to talk about is a thing called encode yes or no. So right now, before I do that, let me show you how it works without the. Let me do one more material set. Nah, I'm not going to. Should I do that? I could. No, I'm not going to do it. All right. This is loaded, so I can click on this, and I can go to theme, and I can pick multicolor, right? And it works, right? You don't see much happening because I don't have another texture theme here. So let me grab one that I already did. I put them in my note cards. There's note cards. So we don't have to go through the process of making them. I already have them made. So I have a blue one, a coral one, and a tan one. We'll stick those in here. Okay. And you can see now when it ran the LSD script, it said there were 4 of them that got processed and no errors. Okay. Now if I click on this and I go to theme, you can see I have more buttons. I have more buttons because they're called theme blue set, theme coral and white, theme multicolor, and theme tan. And there you go. Tan, blue set, coral, and white multicolor. If I pick tan, boom, there it goes. Pick blue set, boom, there it goes. Coral and white, boom, there it goes. And multicolor. Boom, there it goes. All right. So now you can see, and that's how fast, see how fast it works? That's how fast it makes those changes because it's coming out of memory. It's not having to read the note card every time. It's not having to do that. It's just, it's stored in LSD memory. That's one that the advantages of doing that is it's so quick. Boom. Boom. Right? Now, remember I said you can get rid of the note cards and you can get rid of these scripts. You don't need them anymore, right? So say I'm done. I've made all the materials I want and I'm done. All I got to do is go in here and remove these. So the first one to remove is the data dump. I don't need that anymore because I'm not going to dump anymore. But the LSD script then runs and reloads these note cards. The first thing it does is it erases the LSD memory for them and then reloads them. And that's why you have to remove these before you remove. I'm sorry, you have to remove the LSD before you remove these. Otherwise, it's going to take them out of memory. All right. So then we're going to remove the LSD script. And now it doesn't run because it's not there. And I can go ahead and remove these note cards. So the only thing left in here is the main script. Right. So now I won't get 2 menus. And you can see I'm going to close these. I won't get 2 menus because there's not 2 scripts in there. So when I click it, I only get the 1 script. See, 1 script. Click theme, and then I can pick them. Oh, that's the same one I have. Tan, coral and white, multicolor, blue. Okay, and it's working without the note cards, without the dump script, without the LSD script. The only thing in there is the main script, and it works. And then you want to see something really cool? Watch this. So edit this. I'm going to clone it. And now I have 2 of them, right? The LSD memory transfers. Isn't that cool? So it's there. It's inside there. And I can go in here and I can reset scripts. Let's do that. I'll reset scripts. And it's still there. Because it's persistent. It persists across resets. It persists across cloning. So it's phenomenal. It's fantastic, right? So I love that. Okay. So that's one thing. I wanted to show you that it works without the scripts, without the note cards. It'll work, and you can ship it like this. You can ship it to your customers. And now there's no risk anybody's going to steal your textures, right? There's no way possible because there's no note card for them to go and look at to see the UUIDs. So they can't steal it. But maybe you want to leave the note cards in there for some reason. Then there's valid reasons why you might want to do that. And you might want to leave the LSD script in there too. And you might even want to give your customer a copy of the dump script. And I'm okay with that. You can give them a copy of the dump script. Don't give them full perm or a copy trans version of it. You can give them a copy version of it. And they can make their own material note cards. And if they have the LSD script in there and they have the original note cards, they can add textures to it. So you could, in theory, do that. I really don't recommend it because it's a pain in the ass, but you could. So let's say you do want to leave those note cards in there. And I do. I ship my note cards. I leave my LSD in there and I ship the note cards because I think it's, God forbid there's some kind of problem that occurs and they get erased and at least they can rebuild them. Shouldn't happen, but you never know. It's Second Life. So, okay. But right now I don't have them in here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this guy. And we're just going to work on this one. Now I'm going to show you the encoding. So let's go ahead and put those note cards back in there. And then we will go put the scripts back into. I got the dump script and the LSD script, and we're going to put those back in there. Okay, so now I'm back where we were before. But again, I have these note cards, and for whatever reason, one's missing. Blue set, coral white, and tan, and multicolor. Yep, okay. Multicolor. All right, so I have my 4 note cards. I have my 3 scripts. But if you edit this note card, you'll see that's my UUID. And that is the key to my texture. And some people say if they can find that, even if it's no mod, and they put it in their inventory, they can read this. They can't edit it, but they can read it, and it will show them the UUIDs, allegedly. I've seen it happen. So, and then people say, well, if they can get the UUID, they can use your textures. Okay, maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. Anyway, so I don't want this to be in plain text like that. So what I can do is I can go to my admin menu. Where's admin? There it is. Admin, and turn on encoding. So right, it's a toggle. You hit it once, it turns on. You hit it again, it turns off. So I clicked it, and it says, encoded UUIDs is activated. Dump will print out encoded versions of the material and texture UUIDs for your note cards. Okay? And it says a bunch more stuff. So this affects the dump script. It also affects the main script because now the main script is aware that you are using encoded UUIDs and it's going to look for them. When it's turned off, it doesn't look for them. But when it's turned on, the main script is going to look for encoded UUIDs, and if it finds an encoded UUID, it will decode it. But if it doesn't find a encoded UUID, it finds an unencoded UUID, it will use it. But because it's doing all this extra work, it takes some more time and it's a little slower. So right now, my note cards are still using unencoded UUIDs, but I've set it to encoded mode. But let's try running it and see what happens. So I go to theme and I pick tan, and you'll notice it works. Even though my UUIDs are not encoded, it still works. It's just a little slower. It takes a little bit more time to run. Right? Go back to blue. It's still, this is like normal texture changer speed to me. Like the old one that I used to use was this kind of speed. Okay? It still works. It's just a little slower. Even with my UUIDs not encoded. So then somebody says, okay, so if I dump now, it's going to give me a new dump, and it's going to have encrypted UUIDs. So the question is, how do I convert my old unencrypted note cards to use encrypted UUIDs? Well, all you got to do is pick the texture set like I just did. I'm on the blue one, right? I'm on blue set. I pick blue set. I'm on blue. And all I got to do is dump now. So just go here and hit dump. Boom. And there it comes. It's just slower. It's slower because it's encoding the UUIDs, and that takes a little bit of time. Okay, so it's done. So I just copy this, edit, and I go to the right texture set, paste it in, and hit save. And then when it's finished loading, I can go back and run that, and you'll see it's slightly even slower now. Well, you can't tell because it's the same one. But you can see I haven't got my menu back, and I haven't got my menu back because it's still running. And then it finished. Okay, so if I go, let's go to something you can see like coral and white. Boom, boom. So it's slow running, but it works. Okay. And now I dump that. Wait for it to come out. And then I'm going to copy that into the appropriate note card. Save it. It will then load again. The loading doesn't take any more time. It's the same speed because it doesn't care. It's just text. Okay. And then if I now load, run it, go back to blue. So it works. So that's how you can easily convert your old unencoded note cards that you may have already created because you had a different version of this to encoded UUID note cards. It's just a simple process. But once you've converted your note cards and you're in encoded mode like this, you cannot go back. You have to go back to your backup copy of your note cards, the original copy with the unencoded UUIDs, and put them back in, change the mode to unencoded. You don't have to change the mode right away, but you have to, you cannot, there's no way to convert back. The only way to go back is to use the original note cards. So anyway, I don't really, like I said, I'm not a fan of the encoded UUIDs because I don't think we need it because you can ship this without the note cards. So I'm gonna put this back in unencoded just by clicking it again. Now it says encoded UUIDs is deactivated. Dump will print out the actual UUID. So I can do the one that I have here. I can actually click it and dump, and I can convert this one back. But when I try to load, okay, I'll show you. When I try to load the coral and white one, which I've already converted because now I'm in unencoded mode, it will fail. So you could sit here and go switch mode back and forth, switch mode, pick another one, switch, do like that. And you could eventually convert them all back, but it's a pain. It's easier just to restore the note cards if you need to do that. But anyway, I could just dump here and save this one. But it's easier for me just to delete these and put them back. Note cards. Oh, I do have the multicolor one there. For some reason, I didn't think it was in there, but it is. Okay, so now I've restored them back. And because I'm no longer in encoded UUID mode, it's going to run faster. So if I pick tan, boom, 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 there it goes. Blue, boom, 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 coral and white. multicolor. And again, I can delete the dump script, I can delete the LSD script, and I can delete the note card. And it'll still work. Anyway, that's pretty much it about how to use the new version 6 of the PBR Materials texture changer. I did notice there's a couple of things I want to correct. Some of the text that comes out I might want to clean up a little bit. So, but anyway, it works and it works great, and I think you'll be happy with it. So please leave comments. Let me know what you think. If you have any opinions on it, please feel free to share them, and I will talk to you guys. Look for me in world. I'm always around, and I'm happy to help. If you need help setting it up, go ahead and get the personal use edition, the personal edition. It's free. You can do everything we did here. You just can't transfer it to another person. You can use it for your own stuff. You can use it to create all your note cards. You can test it and try it out and see how you like it. And then when you're ready to actually ship it, all you have to do, you could be in this mode like I have it right now, and I could have it like this. I'm going to be ready to ship. I'm going to delete my dump. I'm going to delete my LSD. Delete these. Okay. Ah! I deleted everything. Now what do I do? Okay. Just put the main script in. The only script I need is the main script. Right? And so those were say I just deleted my personal use versions, and now I'm going to go ahead and put in the builder edition, the builder version, which is copy trans, so I can transfer it to my customers. So I'm going to get the builder version of the main script, drop the main script in, and boom. Bob's your uncle. Now, I don't know of anybody else who does that. I don't know of any other product on the market that does what I just showed you. I deleted the scripts, and I put a script back in, ran the script, and the texture changer still works. I could delete those scripts, give this away, someone give it back to me, put the script back in, and it will still work. All right. So, like I said, this is the most functionally complete, badass material texture changer on the market available today. The builder version is $59.99. It was $15.99 while I was going through the building process and getting it working in a sort of the early adopter was $15.99. But now that it's to this mature level, it's a couple of things to clean up, but they don't affect the functionality. So it's at $59.99. And people told me that's too cheap. So other people were saying, oh man, you need to raise your price. There's other ones out there that are $10K and they don't do anything like what you do. They don't do both. They don't do all this. They don't store it in memory. You can't delete stuff. So the only thing we don't do is HUDs. And I'm working on a HUD-based system. It's a completely different concept for clothing and things like that, where you need to have a HUD, you want to have a HUD. But for things like this, because we're doing so much and you have access to all of these different parameters, there's no way to do this with a HUD. The only way to do this is with note cards. But if I'm only changing the PBR materials and only doing the basic Blinn Phong texture, yeah, I could make a HUD version. So I'm working on that. I'm going to come out with a HUD-based version. We'll see how the two things relate, whether it's the same product with an extension or whether it's going to be a completely separate product. But I am working on that. Try to make it as easy as possible for people to do. But as I said, this is the product that we have now. It's primarily for furniture and things like that, where you need to have the control and you need to have the flexibility, and you can use menus. So if you have any questions, let me know. I am Bandor Tyrell, and I will talk to you guys next time.